Hi everybody, Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors, and this week's contract tip has to do with leases, all about leases. Just a quick refresher, there are many times that you are going to have a seller or potential seller that ends up choosing to lease their property first rather than selling it for a whole variety of reasons. So when you as the agent are interacting with a seller who wants to lease their property, there are some definite laws and information that your person needs to know and you as the agent need to know. First of all, if you have never worked with leases or done a lease, you definitely need to work with a mentor, to somebody who has had training in leases before doing this on your own. But regarding the public and the leases, there are several things you need to know. First of all, the biggest issue there are many issues, but one of the big issues has to do with the move-in inspection and a security deposit. Georgia law requires, and that is OCGA 44-7-33. That requires that before a landlord can accept a security deposit, the landlord must give the potential tenant a listing of the current condition of the property. Basically, a list of any damage to the property prior to the tenant giving the landlord a security deposit. So basically, you guys, that move-in inspection needs to be completely filled out and signed by the landlord and tenant before the tenant ever gives the landlord that security deposit. And there are many agents that potentially are having this happen backwards. That's just one of many laws that a landlord and a tenant need to be aware of. Also, you guys, it's part of the lease. You have to have a move-in inspection. You have to go into a lease thinking with the end in mind. And any lawsuits or any issues that happen over what? Money, right? So in a lease, if there is a security deposit up at the end of the lease, both the landlord and the tenant are potentially going to want that security deposit. Well, you have to be able to assess the damage at the end of a lease as opposed to the condition of the property at the beginning of the lease. The only way to do that is with a signed, agreed upon move-in inspection report signed by the landlord and the tenant. If you don't have that, I have no idea how the parties are going to come to an agreement regarding any damage that was pre-existing or that was caused actually by the tenant living there. So maybe a magistrate judge will decide it. I'm not sure. There is a great GAR consumer brochure that was new in 2016 called What New Landlords Need to Know About Leasing Property. And I strongly suggest that you as an agent familiarize yourself with this brochure at the very least prior to working with any clients regarding a lease, whether it be a lease listing or a tenant, but especially a landlord. Some of the things that are brought up in this document are things such as the landlord is going to need special insurance, not just the regular hazard insurance, but additional insurance because they are going to have a tenant in there. Also, financially, they might need to check with their tax accountant regarding any tax issues or financial issues regarding having a property as an investment property that was their former residence. Additionally, this is a huge one. You guys, possession in a lease, possession belongs to the tenant. So the owner of the property, or you as the agent do not have the right to just enter the property at any time unless that has been provided for within the lease. You can't put up a for sale sign or a future for lease sign at the end of the current lease if that isn't provided for in the lease. And many owners think, well, it's my property, I should be able to go in at any time. Well, that's not what the law says. Additionally, repairs cannot be delegated to the tenant. Now, maintenance issues are one thing, but actual repairs, you cannot delegate that to the tenant regardless of how talented the tenant may be. So those are just some of the issues brought up in this great GAR consumer brochure, what landlords need to know. It is GAR Form B8. Additionally, there is a Georgia Landlord Tenant Handbook that is very handy, and the public needs to familiarize themselves with that. There is also HUD guidelines for landlords, the HUD Fair Housing and Equal Opportunity booklet, and I definitely would get those in the hands of your potential landlord prior to them ever even putting up their property for lease. I will link those below, so check those out. Additionally, for actually signing the forms, both in the GAR contract forms as well as the RE forms, are all the forms that you need. So in the GAR forms, there is F40, which is the lease for residential property. There is F49, which is the owner's property disclosure for lease. There is F37, which is the leasing commission confirmation. It's not just the commission instructions, but as far as paying the brokerage that brings the tenant, that procures the tenement, as well as paying the brokerage that leases the property, that puts the listing up for lease. You need to fill out the leasing commission confirmation. F43 is the move-in, move-out inspection form. And then there's also a tenant brokerage engagement for a tenant when you're working with the tenant as a client. In the RE forms, there is RE 125, which is the lease commission acknowledgement. The RE 153, which is the lease procurement listing agreement. That's actually the lease listing agreement. There is the RE 122, which is the rental property condition report. Again, that F43 move-in condition, move-in, move-out form in the GAR forms, and RE 122, the rental property condition report. Those are the forms, and I suggest you do photos or videos as well, that need to be completed prior to a landlord accepting the security deposit. So again, you got lots and lots of issues before just putting up a property for lease and letting a tenant in the house. Make sure that your public is well aware of what the laws are, and you as an agent do not engage in any type of real estate practice that you are not necessarily familiar with. So get a mentor, get some training, get some help, and hope this video helped you guys. Thank you again so much for watching. Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors, satisfying your needs with service, innovation, and education.